there is an intriguing Thanjavur painting, a late medieval Thanjavur painting of Sri Adi Sankara, which has some unique history as well that I would like to tell you about. And there are also other murals and paintings. And I wish to place this Thanjavur painting in the context of other paintings and murals. Now, we are all aware of the well-known painting of Raja Ravi Verma, which was probably made in the late 19th century or the early 20th century. This particular painting has had a major influence on the way we visualize and we sort of, when we think of Adi Shankara, I think this particular image comes to our mind, the one made by Raja Ravi Verma. And most of the modern sculptures and paintings are influenced by this Ravi Verma's painting. However, there is a relatively unknown 17th century mural. This is the 17th century mural here, and here you see Adi Shankara from the Todikalam Shiva temple. The Todikalam Shiva temple is in North Kerala, very close to Talasheri. Both these photographs were shared with me by the renowned painter of North Kerala, the great Sri K.K. Marar. And he also explained a lot about these paintings to me. And I thank Marar sir for his assistance. As I said here, Shankara is depicted expounding his texts, his philosophy probably, and he is shown with the Yoga Patta here. Okay, very, very interesting that he's shown with the Yoga Patta, his hands in Vyakhyana Mudra, meaning he is explaining. And there is a person who's a grahastha, a householder, who is listening to his preaching, his explanation, his bhashya. And there's also somebody behind who's keeping time. It's even more unique. Now let me tell you about this Thanjavur painting. In the Library Museum of the Sarasvati Mahal, which is within the palace complex, I noticed this 18th century Thanjavur painting of Adi Shankara with his 4 disciples. It is a very unique and interesting painting, and I tried to find out as much as I could about it. But for a long time, no information was forthcoming. Now, this library museum is within the palace complex. It is on the East Main Street. So East Main Street meaning the one of the 4 car streets. These are large streets that go around the palace, and you see this particular painting. The entrance to the Saraswati Mahal is from East Main Street, but it's way inside. It got me thinking about why this painting was made. It is very odd to see a painting of Adi Shankara, Saraswati Mahal. Next to it, by the way, is Swami Ramdas, which is even more interesting. A painting of Swami Ramdas. And that is also a Tanjavur style painting. Question is, what was the history behind this painting? Who was the painter? Why was this painting made? And I did not get answers for a long time until I reached the Shankara Jayanti celebrations this year, about a month ago, which was celebrated in the Adi Shankara auditorium. There is an auditorium called the Adi Shankara auditorium within a school on Vadakku Veedi, or the North Main Street in Thanjavur. Apparently, this was the site of a Shastra Pathashala where the Shastras were taught. Very appropriate, right? When we connect it to Shankara. and later on converted to a school and an Adi Sankara auditorium, etc. There is a gentleman there, and there are many others who get together and with great devotion, with great care and with great pains, they celebrate Shankara Jayanti. And this painting is then decorated and taken in procession around the four car streets. I had the opportunity to walk along them on this 4 kilometer procession. Very nice. But I got a lot of answers regarding this painting from the Saraswati Mahal at the Shankara Jayanti celebration. Here you have in this school, they have a similar painting, identical, I would say, which they use for worship during the Shankara Jayanti celebration and other celebrations as well. And it is the object of worship for them. There is a gentleman there by the name of Narayana who is now sort of the caretaker of this painting. He told me quite a bit about this painting. I will tell you that, but first, I would like to show you that in this particular painting, we see the Sishyas, the primary disciples of Bhagavad Pada, depicted very beautifully in this particular painting. So let me just show you. I took a video there and I tried to insert it. Let's see how it comes. Here you see the Sishyas of Bhagavad Pada. When you lift the garland, you can see the four Sishyas depicted very, very beautifully in this particular painting. Now, what I understood from the people celebrating this Shankara Jayanti at the school was that this particular painting, okay, that was there in that school, was in the possession of one Devasankar Thakur, okay, a courtier in the Maratha Thanjavur court or the Thanjavur Darbar. Now, it's look at the diversity. A Gujarati courtier in the Maratha Darbar of the Thanjavur court in Tamil Nadu. Can't get more diverse than that, right? Now, apparently, according to Ms. Narayanan and others, 3 paintings were made. Okay. Now we know that one of these paintings is in this school. That is the Adi Shankara Auditorium, where Shankara Jayanti is celebrated. Other one is, in the Saraswati Mahal Library. The question is, where is the third? Right? And the third one I discovered again with the pointers of these gentlemen. I discovered the third painting in a school, another school on West Main Street, Melavidi. It's an Oriental school, in which there is a small Shankara Matham, very nice, beautiful, small little Shankara Matham, in which this painting, the third copy, is in daily worship, right? And also during Shankara Jayanti. And there too you see the disciples beautifully depicted. Now, I would like to compare these 3 paintings. The one on the extreme right is the one in Saraswati Mahal Library, right? The one on the extreme left is the one from the Oriental school, what is known as the Shankar Matham, right? And the one in the center is the one from the Shankara Jayanti celebration, which is basically Adi Shankara Auditorium or the Shastra Pathashala. You will notice a subtle difference between these paintings. The one on the left and right are both sort of the features are faded, right? They are identical, the features are faded. Whereas the one where the Shankara Jayanti celebrations are being done, this one has definitely been touched up. You can see the features much more clearly in this particular copy. There is some more history to this particular painting, and I will take you back to Devasankar Thakur. Apparently, Devasankar Thakur was the one who sort of kept oversight over this particular painting, which he had lent to the Shastra Pathashala. And there were 2 incidents that came out. Was that during one of the Shankara Jayanti celebrations, this went around this particular painting, excuse me, this particular painting went around in a procession, and at the end of the Shankara Jayanti celebrations, maybe, for some accidental reason, it got left behind at another institution at the end of the night. And the institution which got the painting realized that this was something that they too wanted to have as a painting that they would like to keep and worship and cherish, and they refused to return it back to the Shastra Pathashala. So imagine the devotion of Devashankar Thakur, a Gujarati gentleman in the um 18th century. He went on a fast. He went on a fast because imagine his devotion to Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankara. He went on a fast, and after a week, the other institution which had sort of taken the painting returned it back to him. And subsequently, it was placed back in the Shastra Pathshala, and the worship continued. Apparently, at one time, um, this Shastra Pathshala apparently had Agnihotris who used to perform, Agnihotra and Yagas there as well in the past. At one time, a fire broke out somewhere further away from this Pathshala, and the burning embers came and fell on this small mandapa where this Adi Shankara painting was placed, and the students of the Shastra Pathshala, at risk to their life, ran in and picked up the painting and rushed out and saved it. And we now have it all, touched up and, looking much more beautiful than its companion paintings. So there is some intrigue and history, but there is a lot more to this. Let me tell you. The question was who made these paintings. Now, this Thanjavur painting style apparently came about from this clan of Rajus, which were brought to Thanjavur by the Nayak kings who were of Vijayanagara origin. Okay. Now, the Nayak kings ruled Thanjavur after the Cholas. They ruled Thanjavur after the Cholas, but before the Marathas. So, one of the most decorated and renowned members of this clan is Kalamani T. Venkatesha Raja, whom I had the good fortune of meeting recently and interviewing. He told me that if Adi Shankara paintings had to be made, okay, in the Thanjavur style, they have to be made in this fashion. That is, this is the fashion in which the Adi Shankara paintings are traditionally made in the Thanjavur painting style. And he remembers that during the course of his life, he has made quite not many, but maybe a handful of Thanjavur paintings of Adi Shankara. Many of them he made in the traditional style, okay, in the traditional style of the Thanjavur painting. But some of them he made in the style as shown to him in photographs or other paintings by the patrons who commissioned them. Now, Jaya Appaswamy, who was another well-known painter, in her book on Thanjavur paintings of the Maratha period, talks about this particular Adi Shankara painting. Now, she confirms that the Thanjavur painting style originated with the members of the Raju clan who came from Karnataka, but they were Telugu speaking and settled down in Thanjavur. Right? It's just gets even more complicated. Right? And she says that she says that she believes that the original one is the one in the Saraswati Mahal, and that she has seen um, copies in other places. Unfortunately, Jaya Appasamy is no more. We do not know where the other copies are, but we can say with certainty that these three paintings were commissioned at the same time, probably either by the Maratha king of Thanjavur or by one or more of his courtiers, and they were used for worship in in three places across the city, one being the palace itself. Um, I would like to tell you about one more copy of this particular painting. Okay, this one is certainly a copy. The Ministry of Culture has put out paintings, has put out photographs of this particular painting from the Salarjung Museum with their watermark. If you can see closely, you can see the lion emblem, etc. So this is a 19th century painting from the Salarjung Museum. Now it is much more visual than the original one in Thanjavur. You can see here. This has got gold leaf, but this one has got gold leaf and those simple gems which are inlaid. Here the Sishyas are depicted as well. You can note, and obviously the reason this is much more visual than things like that is because it reflected the stature of the collector, which was basically Salarjung, Nawab Mir Yusuf Ali Khan, who was the prime minister to the Nizam, and a voracious collector of antiquities, art, and things like that. Very interestingly, when you look closely at these three paintings, let me just focus on this. That is these three paintings and this one, you notice the features are different. You noticed the deterioration. Right? Within a century, you see that the way the Sishyas are depicted, the way Shankara himself is depicted, has sort of degenerated. The quality of workmanship or the artistry has degenerated over 100 years. What we see is that you can see the degeneration and the change in style in the Adi Sankara paintings over the centuries. Here you have the 18th century painting, right? And here you have the 19th century painting, and this particular painting is from the from the current period. It is from one of the Thanjavur art sort of shops which sell these paintings, right? And I've given the source for that shop here on Balaji or something. You can see that in the late medieval period, Shankara was depicted stocky, right? And this stockiness is pervading all these three copies, and that has remained up to the 19th century. Form of the painting is sort of very true to the Thanjavur style, but the features and the way Shankara is depicted, certainly there is a degeneration. You can see the quality, the 18th century versus the 19th century, marked deterioration. Not only is he depicted stocky, you see in the medieval period, rishis were typically depicted. If you look at all the sculptures in the Vijayanagar period and thereon, even up to the modern period, rishis will be depicted very stocky, huge pot bellies and things like that. So Shankara, being sort of in that league, is depicted as being somewhat stocky. The waistcloth is also worn in a very typical style of the medieval period. I mean, you could have seen this even in the beginning of, in the late part of the 20th century, the wearing of the waistcloth of this fashion. But when you come to our period, right, you now suddenly see a complete change, a deviation. Shankara is now depicted, exactly how Raja Ravi Varma portrayed him. Gone is the Thanjavur tradition of depicting Shankara. He is depicted as being statuesque, lithe, tall, statuesque, right, and very different from what the Thanjavur painting depicted him to be. Now, the traditional Thanjavur painting depicted him. Now, let me give you a sequence. This is the sequence of 400 years, right? Here you have 17th century depiction of Adi Shankara from Todikam in Kerala. Very different. Just one waistcloth, no cloth over the head, and a yoga patta below, below his knees. And then this is 17th. In the 18th century, a very classic late medieval depiction has come. Again, he is depicted as being stocky and as somebody who the waistcloth style has changed. That sort of persists in the 19th century, and by the 20th century, Raja Ravi Varma has stamped his his authority on our visualization or conception of Shankara as being, a statuesque lead, etc. And the paintings now begin to take Raja Ravi Verma's form. So we have a sequence for about 400 years from the 17th century, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st century. It's very interesting. In very early sculpture, though, Shankara is, and that must be the true form, Shankara is not shown as being stocky. He is not shown as being statuesque. He is shown as somebody who is somewhat, of a medium frame, meaning he was not very tall, uh, maybe of a medium or even a short height. Body was not very stocky. It's medium frame, and his hair was curly. Right, his hair was curly, and he had a single waistcloth below his waist, and he had a danda which he carried. That is the early sculpture that you see. In the medieval period, though, Vijayanagar period, you see a slight change where all these features remain, his height, his curly hair, etc. But suddenly he has become. So this is this is sort of a study, I would say, on the paintings of Shankara, how the painting has evolved about 17th century, and I wonder how the paintings were prior to the Vijayanagar period and the Nayak period, how the paintings were. But we still have not located a very early painting of Shankara. We have sculptures, but we have still not have located an early painting of Adi Shankara. So this is what I want to tell you about the history of this very intriguing painting, or what little bit I know. And if somebody else out there knows about more copies of these paintings, please tell me. If you know something about the history of these paintings, please tell me. I'm very keen to hear from you. My coordinates are there. Both the email search for shankara@gmail.com and also the phone number is there. Thank you very much.